Hello, welcome again to another video on conversation analysis. This video will be the last one on Sachs, Shegloff, and Jefferson 1974 seminal paper on CA. A simplest systematics for the organization of turn-taking for conversation by Harvey Sachs, Emanuel Shegloff, and Gail Jefferson, or SSJ 1974 in short. After this video, we will move on to discuss some of the works and concepts in conversation analysis. In the previous two videos, we discussed a short history of CA and the model for turn-taking organization as proposed by SSJ 1974. We also explored the key concepts such as turn-taking, turn constructional unit or TCU, turns relevance place or TRP, and rules for the model for turn-taking organization as proposed by SSJ 1974. If you need a refresher on those concepts, you may go to those two videos. I put the links in the description box. If you haven't watched my previous two videos on SSJ 1974, here, I'll summarize the gist of those two videos. On the screen, we have a schematic diagram of a very simple exchange or a very simple conversation, which consists of two turns. Speaker 1 produces a conversational turn, and speaker 2 produces another conversational turn. For ease of reference, I will simply call them turns. In conversation analysis, the unit will be called as turns instead of conversational turns. Okay, a turn is a unit in a conversation when a speaker change occurs. Let's go deeper into the inner structure of a turn. Okay, within the turn, there are some junctures that speaker change may occurs. Those junctures are called TRPs or transition relevance places. The unit within the turn when a speaker change may occur at its completion is called a TCU or turn constructional units. Okay, so changes in speakership potentially take place at every TRPs. The way speaker change is handled is through turn allocation. The current speaker may select the next speaker. Other than that, another non-current speaker may also self-select him or herself at this juncture. When nobody takes up the floor right at the TRP, the first speaker may continue to speak. All right. That was the gist of the model and the gist of my previous two videos. Now we are going to discuss the rest of SSJ's 1974 paper, the consequence of this model. The discussion will be divided into three parts according to the remaining sections of the paper. They are Section 5, the type of model disease, Section 6, some consequences of the model, and Section 7, the place of conversation among the speech exchange systems. From my understanding in these three sections to be more precise, the paper tried to further characterize the model. If you have a clear understanding of the previous parts of the paper, the content of these three sections can come naturally. For me personally, the challenge in reading Section 5 to 7 are more on how the authors write their paper. Okay, now let's start with Section 5, the type of model disease. The authors mention 4 items here. First, local management system. Second, party administered. Third, interactionally managed system. Okay, they call this as the features of the model. And in the same section, they also mention recipient design. What do they mean by this? We start with local management system. Let me read a part of the paper on this feature. 1. The system deals with single transitions at a time, and thereby with only the two turns which a single transition links. It allocates but a single turn at a time. The single turn it allocates on each occasion of its operation is next turn. Third, while the system deals with but a single transition at a time, it deals with transitions A. comprehensively. It deals with any of the transition possibilities whose use it organizes. B. exclusively. No other system can organize transitions independent of the turn-taking system. N. serially, in order that they come up via its dealing with next turn. The turn-taking system is a local management system, then in the sense that it operates with such a way as it to allow turn size and turn order to vary and be under local management system across variations in other parameters, while still achieving both the aims of all turn-taking system, the organization of n at a time, and the aim of all turn-taking organization for speech exchange system, one at a time while speaker change recurs. The character and organization of the rules that constitute it as local management system themselves determine its more particular organization. It's not only allowing and or requiring turn size and turn order to vary, but in subjecting their variability to the control of the parties to any conversation. Okay, that's a long parts of the paper that I've been reading, but if you watch my previous videos on rules, you will see that the explanation simply refers to the ability of the model to allow the conversation to be determined moment by moment. Okay, still on section 5, this is the second features. The mechanism by which the system lends itself to party administration, by which turn size and turn order determinations are integrated, and by which the system achieves comprehensiveness for any turn transition, is the option cycle provided by the ordered set of rules. That rule set provides options for speakers and potential next speakers, putting itself thereby at the disposal of participants. It interconnects, stopping by current and starting by next, thereby connecting turn size with turn order. And it is abstractly formulated so as not to exclude any transition place from its scope. How I understand is that this explanation refers to the system or the model that allows the conversation to be controlled by the parties in the conversation. Next, the third features. The party-administered local management of turn order is effected through the rule set, whose ordered property provides a cycle of options in which any party's contribution to turn order determination is contingent on and oriented to the contributions of other parties. The basis of this contingency is given by the ways in which the operations of any of the options provided by the rules is contingent on higher order options not having been exercised and constrained by the prospective operation of lower order options. Okay, speaking about rule set, you may want to refer to my second video on the series which discusses the sections of the rules. Simply says that when the current speaker selects next speaker, then the next speaker is invited to take the floor. But if it doesn't happen, then the current speaker may continue to speak. In SSG's discussion on section 5, they also mentioned the term recipient design. I just want to highlight this term since this is an important concept that turned out to become quite ubiquitous in the field of conversation analysis afterwards. By recipient design, I'm quoting them, by recipient design, we refer to a multitude of respects in which the talk by a party in a conversation is constructed or designed in ways which display an orientation and sensitivity to the particular others who are the co-participants. How I understand the model is that the local management system, party administered and interactionally managed system features, as what they call these three things are features of the model, they enables a recipient design. Alright, now let's move on to the next section, some consequences of the model. 6.1 An intrinsic motivation is identifiably for listening. In its turn allocation techniques, the turn-taking system for conversation builds in an intrinsic motivation for listening to all utterances in a conversation, independent of other possible motivations, such as interest and politeness. Turn-taking organization at least partially controls the understanding of utterances. Turn-taking system has, as byproduct of its design, a proof procedure for the analysis of turns. I'd like to highlight again here the term proof procedure. It is a mechanism that is currently regarded as the gold standards of CA analysis, or analysis within the field of conversation analysis. The turn-taking system has, as byproduct of its design, a proof procedure for the analysis of turns. I continue to quote SSJ. When A addresses a first pair part, such as question or a complaint to B, we have noted A selects B as next biggest and selects for B that he next perform a second part of the adjacency pair. This is another term. It means that two turns that come in the second in response to another. A has started, I continue to quote them, adjacency pair. A has started, answer, or an apology, among other possibilities respectively. B, in so doing, not only perform that utterance type, but thereby displays, in the first place for his co-participants, his understanding of the prior turn talk as a first part, as a question or a complaint. It simply means that when a person responds to type of action, the person of the second speaker shows its understanding as a certain type of action. Then, in SSG 1974, that further continues, herein lies a central methodological resource for the investigation of conversation, by contrast with the investigation of literary and other text materials, a resource provided by the thoroughly interactional character of conversation. We may need a whole video to explain about proof procedure, but for now, it suffices to say this explanation taken from SSG's paper. Here comes the last section of the paper, the place of conversation among the speech exchange system, or section 7 of the paper. The use of a turn-taking system to preserve one party talking at a time while speaker change recurs for interactions in which talk is organizationally involved is not at all unique to conversation. It is massively present for ceremonies, debates, meetings, press conferences, seminars, therapy sessions, interviews, trials, etc. All these differ from conversation and from each other on a range of other turn-taking parameters and in the organization by which they achieve the set of parameter values whose presence they organize. I continue to quote from SSG's paper that the type can be so arrayed permits them to be compared directly in relevant functional terms. Thus, one pole local allocation of turns permits maximization of the size of the set of potential speakers to each next turn, but is not designed organizationally to permit the methodical achievement of an equalization of turn among potential speakers, whereas the other pole, pre-allocation of turns, is designed to permit the de-equalization of turns, or can be designed for other ends, which it does by specifying next speaker, thereby minimizing the size of the set potential next speakers. If the range of turn-taking system is arrayed on a continuum ranging from full pre-allocations of turns to single allocation at a time, then any system may be found to maximize, minimize, or not be organizationally relevant to a range of functions such as equalization of turns among participants, maximization of potential next speakers, etc. Before ending this video, I want to highlight one thing. SSG made an interesting comment at the beginning of section 5 on page 725. Okay, I quote them. "It is certainly the case that the proposed model is in several respects incorrect or insufficient. But however this particular model may be defective, we believe our discussions support the claim that the appropriate model for turn-taking in conversation will be this sort of model." I think I'm aligned with SSG. We can imagine how SSG went through the audio data, transcribed them manually, identified basic patterns in the data, and came up with this sort of model that they proposed to their paper in 1974. Bear in mind that most of the works happened in the 60s. Then they published this paper in 1974, early 1970s. I'm quite confident that with the current advancement of machine learning and access to bigger and bigger data on naturally occurring conversation, we should be able to come up with more refined models for conversation. I believe the key is to use naturally occurring conversational data, just like SSG. If you come across current work on conversational models which starts from analyzing naturally occurring conversational data or informed by naturally occurring conversation data, please share in the comment section. I would love to understand, to read them. Yeah. Alright, this is the end of the discussion for the three-part series of SSG 1974. As I mentioned previously, if you have a good understanding of the model, especially on how a turn is constructed and how turn allocation happen, whatever I explained in this video, in the three last sections of the paper, can come naturally. That's why in this video I mostly quoted the paper itself. Okay, after this video we will move on to discuss some of the works and concepts in conversation analysis. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. Bye.